Let's do it right into it. Let's get right into it. Facebook, what's up? Facebook, what's up? Mike, Facebook, what's up? Facebook, what's up? There it is. Cool, we good. Dealing with a bit of an unstable connection here, so just bear with me, podcast listeners. And that is, I'm assuming it's because the weather has been a little bit off with a little bit of rain, but we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work because that's what we do around here. We just simply keep making it work. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. All right, let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. Good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time of day you may be consuming this. If you are tuning into this on the Move Swiftly podcast, great to have you. Great to have you. Make sure you follow, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. If you're tuning into this live on YouTube, or not on the Move Swiftly podcast, but either on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, be sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, pass it along to anybody that you know needs it. Let me introduce myself real quick to anybody that may be new to my world. First and foremost, name Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon-to-be 6-time published author and educator. What I created, what the whole Move Swiftly brand is about, is taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a group of employees and a staff and a group of employees that moves as efficiently and as cohesively and is as eager as a championship youth or high school football team. I have figured out a way. I have a system in place that translates how that works because I've lived through it. I've been through it. I've been there, done that. All right, been there and done that. And I tapped into the code, tapped into that way, cracked the code, I should say, in terms of how to take that passion and apply it to businesses, which is something that you need. I'm telling you right now, you need it more than you will ever know, seeing at the way the world works, seeing at AI, seeing at all the things that are coming down the pipeline. You better have some absolutely motivated people working underneath you, working in your industry, working for your companies, working in your businesses, because if you don't, they're out the door. And one of the trademarks in terms of what we do here, in addition to we start off the week, Make Your Move Monday, whereas Make Your Move kickoff question. We kick off the week figuring out what's going to be the thing that allows us to really put our mind in the right place and set us up the right way for that week. And then the next day, it's a top 5 Tuesday, based on something that is mostly 95% of the time is going to be an evergreen topic, but it's usually related to the theme and related to exactly what it is we're talking about throughout the week. And this week, we're talking about using leverage, utilizing your leverage, as you can see right there on the screen, utilizing your leverage, utilizing the things that are made available to you, and utilizing your superpowers, your gifts, your things, the things that are unique to you, and we want to figure out, you want to lean into them as much as possible because it's your obligation, it's your responsibility. So we have the top 5 ways in regards to how to apply and utilize these things. But before we get into it, so what I'll do is I normally do, again, for you newcomers, I have an article written about it, and then we'll talk about the article. As I read the article live, we'll discuss the article and we'll break it down in that manner. And, I'll give my commentary and things like that when it comes to the article and all that kind of stuff. But before we get too deep into the topic, let me just run through 2 quick announcements today. What I'm going to actually, again, newcomers around here, you don't know this, but my regular consumers know that I used to spend a little bit too much, that probably would spend a little too much time making announcements. I teach boxing classes as well, and I would include those in the announcements. I'm cutting that out, seeing that the boxing classes, I'm going to continue doing them, but in terms of the location, it's something I actually have to. It's funny because I was talking to my girl last night about this, and I was like, I have to work on being in a relationship with someone. It's so much more than just putting stuff out there and not making and trying to figure it out on your own. And I have a habit of, could be good, bad habit, however you want to look at it, but there is a habit of me doing too much of that. So as of right now, the only announcement is the free guide. So business owners, again, I'm here to serve you. The main purpose, the main thing to this business, all right, is to get you guys to understand the importance of the system so you do not have the issue of turnover. All right? We want to lower your turnover rates. By using this system, by using the system that I've created, the Move Swiftly system, when it comes to your employee development, your turnover rates will significantly decrease. Hear me. Your turnover rates will significantly decrease. The investment you make in this system will make it so you don't have to constantly replace employees. And if you do have to replace employees, the system in itself that I created is going to make it so you have the right replacement right there in order to make whatever changes you need to make. So it's very, very important. All right. The very first step, the very first thing I need you to do is go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That's freeguide.makeyourmove.com. If you're looking at this on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you see it's very simple. You just hit the button, you put in your first name, last name, phone number, email, and just sign you up. You will get a free guide in terms of how to properly do that right now. That is 100% free for you. And then we'll schedule a call, we'll book a meeting and discuss details on how I can serve you better. All right. So it's freeguide.makeyourmove.com. Next thing I need you to do is to go to just makeyourmove.com, and or you can go to makeyourmove.com first if you'd like. If you just want more information about me, where I've been, what I'm all about, all of that stuff is made accessible to you on the internet. If you have access to the internet, which you do, and you can look me up, you can do all your research, you can buy the books, you can do whatever it is you need to do to learn about Aswan Crookshank. All right. It's available. It's made for you to, again, do your research. You're a business owner. You know exactly what that means. All right. So all that being said, let's get into today's topic today. All right. Top 5 ways to use your leverage. And what I want to reiterate, I'm going to spend a little bit of time reiterating and kind of bringing you up to speed of what we talked about yesterday. So yesterday, and again, forgive me if you're listening to this and the Wi-Fi is a little bad, but I'm still going to record regardless because I'm seeing the Wi-Fi, the connection's kind of unstable where I'm at. I'm recording this at the school I teach at, so the Wi-Fi here at times, it doesn't happen often, but at times the Wi-Fi does kind of go a little, whenever we get difficult weather that we deal with, sometimes the Wi-Fi does get a little funky on us. So we're gonna push through that obstacle because it's what we normally do around here. Right. So when it comes to yesterday, the question was, what is your best leverage? What is the thing that you use for your leverage the most? In fact, you know what? I'm going to just pull up the article now. Before we get into today's article, let's go back a little bit to yesterday's article. What is your best leverage? And I answered the question myself. So it would give you kind of a framework and a place in which you can answer your question, or you can figure that part out as well. So I'm gonna read it to you directly, and we'll get back into today's episode. So what's my best leverage? Here's the truth. My primary offer is employee development workshops. That's my business. But the real leverage is how I deliver those workshops. I'm a lifelong athlete. I've captained multiple championship football teams. I've coached at the high school level. I've trained others through Positive Coaching Alliance. I've even worked 2 seasons as a top seller for the Miami Dolphins Foundation. And when I step into a boxing gym, I bring all that experience with me: discipline, leadership, resilience, and performance under pressure. The unique blend allows me to teach boxing themed fitness classes in a way that builds not just physical stamina, but real world confidence in people's careers, in their relationships, and how they show up every day. So what's my best leverage? It's not just the workshop. It's me. It's the way I teach. It's the lifestyle I embody. It's the energy I bring. And now I'm using that leverage to open doors. Cut right there. All right. So I read that just for context and just so you guys understand that when you are clear about what's giving you the most leverage, when you are clear about what separates you from a competitor, when you are clear about what it is about you that makes you unique, you got to lean into that, and you got to create a unique blend. Again, I'm not saying this because I know everything. I'm far from knowing everything. I do things every single day about myself. I'm constantly, you could ask anyone that speaks to me regularly, I am constantly looking for ways to improve myself, looking for ways in which I can improve, looking for strategies, looking for something that's going to make it so I'm just a little bit better today than I was yesterday. Because I got news for you. You are either every single daytime you get an opportunity to see the sunrise, you have your option. All right. You have your option to get better that day, or you have your option to get worse. All right. That's what's going to happen. You're not going to stay the same. This is a common issue with a lot of people out there, is they believe they go after all of the important decisions that they make in life, whether it's your career, whether it's your relationship, whether it's the decisions that you decide to make with your kids and all that. You make the decision under the premise and under the assumption that there's this idea that you're just going to be able to stay the same. There's going to be this level. There's going to be this amount of money that you make that makes it so you could just stay afloat and live normal. It's going to be a certain house that you get, and all of a sudden everything's just going to be normal for you. Now you could just be normal. No, that's not going to work. It's not going to be the case. What's going to be the case is you're going to have to actually consciously choose day in and day out, how am I going to get better today? If I don't choose that, then you know what's going to happen? Going to get worse. And too often does it happen unconsciously. There's people, I know people personally, who've had this mindset of, I'm going to kind of stay mediocre. I'm just going to stay afloat. I'm going to just kind of go through the motions and not do anything extreme. And that decision ultimately made it so they've gotten worse, and they've gotten worse, and they've gotten worse, where something really, really small, a really small issue just became worse. And over time, it just is completely falling off the rails. All right. So make the decision. And the only way you can actually make the decision every single day to get better is if you're using your leverage. If you understand what your leverage points are, what makes you sellable, what makes you the thing, what makes you the person that another person who has the funds will invest in. What makes you the person that's going to get you that job, or make it so they offer you that job over the thousands of other applicants out there? What makes you that person that's going to make that significant other pick you specifically pick you? Understand, this is important. This is an important concept here, because what we see in relationships, and a lot of times this is where it stems from, relationally, a lot of you guys are making the decision based on mutual friends, based on what somebody else said about her, or if vice versa, she said about the guy. Again, there's just a lot of mutual friends that coming together, and they're keeping each other from being lonely. You got to consciously say, hey, I want to stand out. I want to be someone that's new. I want to be somebody that it sticks out in the crowd, and it's specifically designed to do a specific thing, and that's what a person is about. So one of my favorite songs, Buju Banton, man. I'm raised in a Caribbean household, so there's a lot of old school soca, reggae, dancehall, all that. So Buju Banton was one of the legends, and one of my favorite songs by him is "Wanna Be Loved, Not for Who You Think I Am, Not What You Want Me to Be. Only love me for me, real love, with no strings attached. I wanna, think about the words on that. With no strings attached, I want to give you my heart. Don't want to give it back. And this is my cha-cha. Been searching a mighty long time for the I ain't gonna give too much to you guys right now. Go get the CD, go get the song. It's one of those songs. I used to listen to that when I was in college, like the whole CD through. Tell Shiloh, the whole CD through, and it got me. Tell people all the time, that CD, Buju, if you ever listen to this Buju Banton, that CD absolutely got me through my last 2 semesters of college. I mean, I would be on repeat, bumping that, boy. Tell Shiloh. I'll look it up for you. For anybody that's looking at me live right now, let me just look it up real quick so you have it, and then we'll get into the article. Just let me get off right here. This CD right here. Oh man, boy, what? What? You can see what? Oh man, classic. Every single day in college I'd be bumping this, man. What? Oh man. Yeah. That was the CD. Like, I mean, I tell if I was on an island, let's say I was like on an island, stuck on an island somewhere, and I had maybe 5 CDs to take with me to bump. You know, obviously I'm taking the Jay-Z, the Black Album. I'm gonna do some Lauryn Hill with the Miseducation, and Buju definitely gonna be on that list. Those are gonna be the 3. I would say probably gonna do Blueprint again. I'm a big Jay-Z guy, and then that 50 Cent Get Rich or Die Trying. That would probably be my 5, just thinking off the cuff. But telling you that Buju, between that Buju, that Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, that Black Album, Blueprint, that 50 Cent Get Rich or Die Trying. Come on, man. Like I be just feeling that. But again, there might be a couple I'm missing out just because I didn't plan on giving that. But I'm just gonna that actually might be. Let me write that down. Actually. 1 second. Let me write that down. That might be a top 5 Tuesday for a future day. So top 5 albums if I was stuck. All right. Yeah, that actually might be a top. Matter of fact, that might be next week. So again, you guys see how I come up with the topics of this show. All right, so here we go. Let's get right into the article. Podcast listeners, I am reading directly from today's article on medium.com. Make sure you follow me there as well. Medium.com, #MoveSwiftly44. All right, top 5 ways to use leverage. Move swiftly. Business of sports marketing. Top 5 Tuesday. If you've been following along, then you already know the deal. It's Top 5 Tuesday around here. Every week, we drop a list that can spark something in your life or business, and this week's no different. In fact, today's topic might just be one that unlocks everything for you. Let's talk leverage, and more specifically, how to use it. Because used the right way, leverage is what turns good into great, dreams into reality, potential into results. Here are the top 5 ways to use leverage. Number 1, finances. Yes, it is. First and foremost, okay? Finances. When you're talking about leverage, the very first thing you got to figure out is, how do I use my leverage to develop and get more finances? All right? Reading directly from the article now, podcast listeners. Let's get one thing straight. It's not about becoming some greedy, villainized millionaire. Finances are at the top of the list because they give you options. Options to support your family, options to give back, options to build. There's a powerful clip by Grant Cardone, you can watch it here, where he breaks down why saying I don't need to be rich is actually selfish, because it means you're only thinking about yourself, not the people who you could help, the causes you could find, or the legacy you could leave behind. So let's make this clear. Getting your money right isn't greedy. It's responsible. Hear me, because I want to break down that clip. I remember seeing that clip years ago. I remember seeing that clip. And it was and if you know anything about Grant Cardone, incredibly aggressive, incredibly like upfront, just blunt, gonna just tell it how it is, gonna tell you how he feels and all that kind of stuff, right? So when he said it on, I think he was talking to Lewis House. He was on the Lewis House show, and he repeated on multiple clips I've heard him say, poor people are selfish. Middle class people are selfish. And when we're talking about poor, we're talking about middle class, he's more so discussing mindset, the mindset of a poor person, the mindset of a middle class person who would tell him, someone who's off again. So Grant Cardone is all about teaching folks how to be rich. He has this whole brand, this whole concept called 10X, 10X your life. I read one of his books where it was basically just multiply everything by 10. You want to make 10 phone calls, do 10 more, send 10 more emails, basically 10X. And he's created a whole brand, a whole ideology around the whole 10X concept, which, obviously gets a lot of attention. It's had a ton of success with it, right? So when he talks about poor people being selfish, or we talks about middle class folks being selfish. She's more so referring to the person who says to themselves, well, I don't need to be rich. I don't need to have a lot of money. I don't need to be someone that is able to afford, Ferraris and Maseratis. I don't need to be rich. And he points this out. Think about the person that and I'm probably talking to you directly. Think about the person who says that kind of bullshit. You're only thinking about yourself. You're only thinking about, you don't need to be rich. Well, what about your family? What about your loved one? What about, the cause and the things that people don't have the opportunities to create? What about your church? What about the nonprofits that are out here doing great work, right? What about all of the things that are going on that money buys? Money buys the groceries. Money buys the things that allows you to be a great person. So if you sit around talking about how you don't need to be rich, or you sit around talking about how you don't need to make a lot of money, that is a selfish mindset. That's a selfish person. That's a selfish way of thinking. That's you being happy with what you got and fuck everybody else. That's the mentality a lot of these folks have. And unfortunately, there's so many of them that they very rarely get told that, because they're always finding a comfort. They're always finding a way of getting out of the responsibility of being rich. It's a responsibility. Okay. Being rich is a responsibility. Getting a lot of money is a responsibility, because you have the resource. You take the responsibility upon yourself to say, I'm gonna go out and get this bag because I got loved ones to support. I'm gonna go out and get this bag because I got things that I want to accomplish in my life. I got a cause that I want to give to. I got specific things that pull on my heartstrings, and I want to do it that bad. That's what that's what making a lot of money means. All right, debunk this myth where rich people are some greedy, selfish folks. The reality is that's what the majority of the world wants you to think, because the majority of the people that you run into are going to be of the middle class, are going to be those people that are not rich, and they're always going to find an excuse. They're always going to find a way to get out of the responsibility. That's what they do. You just simply have to accept it, keep getting in your bag, gang. Keep getting to your back, because when you recognize that in people, you won't have the time or energy to waste on them. You just will move on real quick. Trust me, I'm telling you from experience, you're going to move on real quick. You won't have the time for their bullshit excuses, and you're just going to keep riding and keep rolling. So I implore you to do that. All right. So number one, finances. All right. And number two, kind of piggybacks off number one. It's a desired lifestyle. All right, let me put it up real quick. Number two, desired lifestyle. Save that and put it up. Desired lifestyle. Reading directly from the article, podcast listeners. All right. Once you understand the purpose of your finances, the next piece of leverage is designing your lifestyle. What do you want your Saturdays to look like when the bills are paid and the money's flowing? Let me give you a personal example. Just a few weeks back, I was with the woman I'm seeing and her two kids. We were hanging out on a Saturday, nothing fancy, just quality time. And every Saturday, a new episode of Film Session Saturday drops on my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that by just going at Film Session Saturday, going to YouTube at Film Session Saturday. All right. I put it on. So what happens? I'm reading directly on her. So we put it on the big screen, and her daughter lit up when she saw me on TV. I turned to her mother and I said, "This is it. This is the lifestyle I want. Chilling on a Saturday with loved ones while new content drops that creates residual income. You don't need to be You don't need $1 million bank account to start building your desired lifestyle. You just need a clear vision and leverage to get there." All right, so let me put this up real quick. I'm gonna put it up real quick, but I'm trying not to get demonetized. So give me a second. So this is Film Sessions. If you're looking at this on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, you know that every single Saturday, Since we've done this for about 3 months now, since the season ended, since the college football season ended, and the first Saturday when college football season wasn't here, it was really, really depressing for me, especially because so much of my content, so much of what I do comes from what you actually saw on college football Saturday, right? So because I built this platform, because I'm doing the work I'm doing, I said, you know what? Why not? And I just learned actually what happened as I just learned how to do screen share and record at the same time. So I decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to break down football games and post every Saturday as if the season was still going on. Because mentally, that's where I was at. I need my college football to get my mind right, to help with my mental health and all that stuff, right? So every Saturday so the past 3 months, it's been a new video, a new game that I break down personally, and I just kind of go to see who did what. And the goal is to actually become a play-by-play announcer, right? So it was Saturday and so that being said, every single Saturday since I've met her, we've been together. I've been with her every single Saturday. I've met every single weekend. We've been hanging out. And again, when you're in the process of getting to know someone, these are the conversations that you need to be having, like especially from the man's perspective, and you're talking about someone who's been there, done that, been, has walked down the aisle, did all that. It's like every time Shannon. So I used to work for this company named 9 Round. And the founder of all the 9 Round chains, his name is Shan. And I remember him when it was actually in Fort Lauderdale, we did like a workshop, and he was talking about how his wife used to be married and had a kid and all that. And he was saying like a lot of what I'm thinking now in terms of whenever you are dealing with a woman who was married and has kids, they're asking the right questions. They're like saying to themselves, look, this is the second time I'm considering doing this, so you better have your shit together. So it's like the conversations I'd be having with her. I put this on the screen, and as I saw how her daughter reacted to it and how, again, I'm getting paid to put the videos out there and get more subscribers and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, that's it. That's the desired lifestyle. I'm here spending quality time, but also there's stuff coming out that's creating income. So it's never a matter of me just passively wasting. I don't want to say wasting time because I might get in trouble for saying that, but I will say it's never a point and never a time of day where there isn't some sort of money-making strategy, some sort of residual, some sort of opportunity that's being put out there that I created on the back end. All right. That's what I mean when I say desired lifestyle. For you to develop a desired lifestyle, what do you want it to look like when all the pieces of the puzzle come together? You have to have that vision long before you actually run into the right people that are going to make things happen, that you can trust to make certain things happen. All right. So that is number 2, desired lifestyle. Number 3, helping others. All right. This is another important one. This is another important one that does not get talked about much at all. Let me put this up real quick. All right, all right, helping others, reading directly from the article. Now, so you can't skip this one. If you're using leverage only for personal gain, it won't last. One of my favorite reads, Do You, by Russell Simmons, dedicates an entire chapter to the power of giving before you get. Here's why it matters. First, you need honest feedback so let me just, before I continue, let me just break that down a little further for you guys. Giving to Get, one of the books I strongly recommend you get this book titled Do You by Russell Simmons, a hip hop mogul who made a ton, just done a lot of great things, all right? And he has this chapter where he discusses this concept about giving to get. You have got to give in order to get. All right. And here's why it matters for you to really consider giving. All right. Giving before you actually get something is because here's why it matters. Reading directly from the article now. First, you need honest feedback to see if what you're offering is actually valuable. All right. That's number 1. The second thing, giving creates leverage. It creates leverage. It creates leverage. It creates leverage. It creates leverage. Your radio is not broken. Your wherever you listen to this from is not broken. I'm repeating this for a reason. When you give, it creates leverage, because when you give authentically, people remember. They open doors, they vouch for you, and eventually you get paid because you started with service. Volunteer your time, lend your expertise, be the person people want to succeed. You got to, I'm telling you right now, you have got to learn to do that. You've got to develop the concept of, if you have an expertise on something, then be willing. I'm not telling you to do it for free forever, right? But be willing to do it for free if you can, because the more that stuff you're able to do, the more leverage you're getting, the more you're able to work with other folks to get better, and they're going to want to help to see you succeed. Those relationships are incredibly important. All right. As we get into number 4, you're going to see why those small little connections, right? Those small connections that you can build with others, they become incredibly, incredibly important in the long haul when you run into folks that do everything in their power to keep you back, do everything in their power to create roadblocks, to do everything in their power to keep you from whatever it is you're trying to do. All right. So speaking of that, let's go to number 4, leaving an impact. All right. Leaving an impact. Let me put this up and grab a drink of water as we get to number 4. Leaving an impact. All right, reading directly from the article now. All right, leaving an impact. This goes hand in hand with helping others. But here's the distinction. All right. Leaving an impact means seeing your idea all the way through, especially when it gets tough. You're going to be ignored. You're going to get laughed at, but those moments are part of the path. If you want influence, if you want legacy, you're going to have to endure what most people quit during. You need that paragraph again. You're going to be ignored. You're going to get laughed at. But those moments are part of the path. If you want influence, if you want legacy, you're going to have to endure what most people quit during. Look no further, all right? And I got a couple angry DMs when I started talking about this on Saturday. But whether you're a Trump supporter or not, you can't overlook what I'm getting ready to say. You cannot overlook this fact. Look no further than our 45th and 47th president of the United States. Public humiliation. Yep. Still found a way to bounce back? Absolutely. Impact means persistence. Period. Been shot at, right? Been shot at, got a mug shot that had counts, people threatened him, taking to jail. There was a period there where I personally thought he wasn't even going to be, he was going to be in jail, but he figured out a way to bounce back from that 4 years and still become the 47th president. If you can't get inspired by that, and I don't give a shit whether you're blue, red, green, whatever, whoever you voted for, if you can't get inspired by just that alone, you got a problem. You got a personal problem that you got to work some shit out. You just do. You got to work something out in your own. There's nothing a person can do for you if you can't look at another person who bounced back after dealing with all that and say to yourself, you know what? If I don't believe in the American dream, if I don't start dreaming, if I don't start believing in myself, if I don't start saying to myself, hey, I can accomplish whatever the hell it is I want to do in this world, that's your problem. That's some personal shit you got to really clean up. You got to clean it up because if that was something that I sat back and watched, and it might be a little different for me because I live out here in Palm Beach, and there's a lot of support that he gets out here because people are like, his neighbors and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people that do absolutely love him, to the point when the contrast for me, and this is actually something me and ChatGPT were chatting about yesterday, because when I got some of those angry comments when I said basically what happened, I'll just tell the story now because we have some time. basically what happened is I spoke about, let me see if I can pull it up here for you, for the people that are viewing this visually. So yeah, this was it. Saturday, I put this article out when the news came out about Trump and Saban potentially connecting on a sports commission, some sort of a sports commission for college sports that's meant to clean up college sports and all that. I put my resume out there. I just did. I'm like, yo, the thing is, I wrote, let me show you guys. I wrote this book right here, Transfer D1. I wrote it during what ended up being Nick Saban's last year coaching college football. I was in the process of writing it, and a lot of the things that he was saying on live interviews was some of the things that I put in the book. All right, it was so surreal for him to actually kind of out of the blue retire and still be involved with the sport. And, it kind of got said. It didn't get said directly by him, but it got said in so many words that he wanted to see college sports be a little more fair, be a little more balanced in terms of where the money is divided. Didn't want it to just be all about football and all that. And the fact that he said it, and, I mentioned some of those things in the book, was kind of surreal because it was like, look, thinking on the same way. So what happened was President Trump gave the commencement speech at the University of Alabama. Nick Saban introduced them, and then the buzz started to come out about how they were working together and they're going to create some sort of a sports commission. And when that buzz came out, I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I put it out there, and there was some strong DM, strongly lettered messages I got, and some strong looks from people that still run around with this Trump derangement syndrome and all that kind of stuff. So I put it out there. And as I was dealing with that, because I wrote the article, I wrote the top 5 ways to leverage your impact, top 5 ways to use your leverage on that Saturday. That's what made me put this particular line in the article, because I realized that whether it is him or even it is a Nick Saban, I mean, look, if you don't want to use Donald Trump as an example, use Nick Saban as another example, right? You're talking about a guy who his name was thrown in the mud. I mean, listen, I used to work for the Miami Dolphins Foundation. I used to, be right there in the area where I'm talking about diehard Dolphin fans to their core. They don't even like that man being in that man comes to South Florida. He needs maximum security because, the way he left the Miami Dolphins that year, where he left the Miami Dolphins, and he was on camera saying, I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to say it. I'm not going to be the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then he goes and leaves, and then goes and builds what he builds at Alabama. There are still Dolphin fans out there that can't stand that man. They used to call him Nick Satan, but at the end of the day, he has an impact. He's left an impact because of the way he did what? Bounced back. Didn't worry about what the people were saying. Didn't worry about how much he was hated by a certain demographic of people or why those people hate him or anything like that. Just showed up every day, did their work, and did what it is they had to do to leave an impact. So the question now becomes, as we get into the final reason, the question now becomes, are you willing to do the same thing? If you're talking about leaving an impact and using your leverage to get to the places where you're trying to get to, you got to be able to endure all that. And they're going to be nasty things that people say about you. And you have to be willing day in and day out to just take it on the chin. And there are going to be some folks that, hey, they will never like you. Will never convince them to like the work you do or to understand you or anything like that. You got to be willing to push through and see your ideas through and see your vision through, even during those times, because those are the toughest times to do it. So that's a question that I can't answer for you. That's a question you're going to have to really take a personal look in the mirror and ask yourself, can you do this? Can you do it? All right. That's the way we're going to drop on number 4. Can you do it? Leaving an impact is absolutely difficult. It's a rough ride for you. So you better have done the work you needed to do on the inside before you start putting your shit out there. You better have done it. I'm just telling you the truth. All right. So final one for Top 5 Tuesday. Dun, dun, dun. You got to outwork the competition. Let's go back to number one. So top 5 ways to use leverage. Number 1, your finances. Number 2, the desired lifestyle. Number 3, helping others. Number 4, leaving an impact. And number 5, outwork the competition, baby. Outwork the competition. As I always do. I'm going to bring it back to the football field. Because again, guarantee I'm going to give you as a business owner is that the minute you decide that you're going to bring me in to do a workshop with y'all, with your company, you're gonna have a staff now that is ready to roll, that is pumping. Like, okay, all right. It's gonna be like a whole team, a championship high school football team, right in the tunnel, ready to rock and roll and ready to turn this thing up. All right. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. All right. So, reading directly from the article, guys. Outwork the competition. Let's bring it back to football. When I played youth football, we used to run hills. We hated it. Full gear, sprinting, backpedaling, crawling. It wasn't glamorous, but it taught us something powerful. My coach, Coach Bryant Davis, used to yell, "This is where we outwork everyone on our schedule." He'd start by naming every team. We'd eventually go on the beat. And let me tell you, we believed in it because we trained for it. We believed it because we trained for it. Leverage doesn't just come from your connections or money or content. Sometimes the best leverage is your willingness to outwork everyone else. Final thought. Today, technically, I won't read the final thought for you because I was writing this. It was actually this one I wrote on the Sunday before Mother's Day. Actually, I'll drop the mic here. So final thought. Today is technically a holiday, Mother's Day. I'm writing this just before heading out to meet my lady and her kids for church. But you know what? Purpose doesn't take days off. Vision doesn't clock out. Neither does leverage. The mic is dropped. Get to work and use your leverage. So let's get to number 5 really, really quick. And I'll briefly go over this one. All right. When you're talking about leverage, all right, it's only so much that you're going to be able to have. When I say leverage, it's not going to be by much. The difference between the winners and the losers are you clearly see the ones who are winning are outworking their competition every single day. Just plain and simple. Outworked. And we saw it last night when we watched the Knicks and the Knicks and Celtics game. All right. The Knicks, plain and simple. I know Jason Tatum went down, and I know the Celtics faithful are going to say, "Oh, that's I know that's going to be a big story." But let's give the New York Knicks some credit. Them boys just out. They took that L that they took on Saturday. They came back Monday and they simply outplayed their ass. Just simply outplayed their ass. And for the most part, you get 2 teams. If you give the more talented team is Boston, but it's not by much. And with work, with you just deciding I'm going to put in that work, you eventually will get your W. All right. So the reason I brought it back to the football field is because when Coach Bryant would say this to us, mentally, when you hear the word hills, mentally as players, we think of something negative. All right. So the way he would challenge our mental capacity to say, "Hey guys, this right here is where we outwork our competition." All right. These hills are going to be the best thing that ever happened to you, because when you in that fourth quarter and you grinding boys out, you grinding these wins out, your legs going to be stronger than theirs. You're going to have fresh legs. You're going to be good. And y'all going to just go out and finish out the game. I challenge you all. I pray for you all. I want every last one of you guys that are listening to me right now to make sure you take Coach Bryant's words, and really put them up in your soul, put them in your system, put them in your holster, put them in your mental framework to say, "I gotta outwork the competitor." That's it. That's the only thing that, listen, from 1 through 4, there are things, yes, they're going to things that are there are going to be opportunities presented to you that you may not have asked for, you didn't know, or advantages that you have, whether it's finances, desired lifestyle, helping others, or leaving an impact. There are going to be certain advantages that you have that others don't, but there's going to be no substitution for outworking your competition, man. If you really about your life, if you really about that action, you're going to outwork every single person that you're going to do the work that you need to do. So that is where I dropped the mic. That is where I officially and just explained to you guys, there's no substitution. I don't give a shit what it is or what you do. There's going to be zero substitution for you putting in the work. And a lot of folks out there, they like to dance around the work that it's going to take. But I'm telling you, as a consumer of my content, don't be afraid of work, because it's going to at some point benefit you also. All that being said, again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I do, it's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. Everyone out there, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.